Everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Nasdaq Larshia back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about what are the causes of inflation today in January 2022. What might be the future of this inflation, and are we in a bear market? So before we begin, I want to say I'm not a financial advisor, and you should always do your own due diligence and research before taking part in any investment scheme. Let's get into it. All right, so as you can see from this title here, Nasdaq jumps 1%. Dow climbs 370 points as Wall Street shakes off a slow start to the week. This was on Monday, February 7th, 2022. Right now it's a Thursday, and markets have unfortunately reversed. So markets today have fallen around 370 points, with the Nasdaq Composite down 304 points to $14,185.67. The Dow Jones is down 526.47 points. The S&P is down 83.1 points. The Russell 2000 is down 32.34 points, and NYSE Arca Oil Index is down 3.45 points. Now, let's address the question, why is inflation so high? Why do we have so much inflation? So according to South Carolina, there are two reasons. According to University of South Carolina, there are two reasons why inflation is growing. So number one, the supply and demand. The supply and demand basically is that the issue is that we are having consumer supply chain issues, supply chain shortages, chip shortages, all the shortages you can ask for. Well, don't ask for them, please. But all the shortages that you can ask for, and thus they have to make the prices higher of products to account for that potential loss. And that's why inflation is growing higher. That's the one reason. Second reason, the inflation checks because after quarantine, people are on a spending spree since 1.5 years because they all got all this money and they feel rich and they want to go spend. And third reason is basically the support and the increased demand for wages. The wages are jumping because people won't work. People want to live off the government's money, and they like their free money, their stimulus checks. Wages are jumping up 4.8% actually from a year earlier, as employers of many industries offer more money to retain people because they got to attract people in there. The unemployment rates are very, very high. The news is actually great for workers, but however, companies often have to pass the higher cost to consumers. Let's address another question of, is inflation always bad? So inflation actually isn't always bad news. Some inflation, maybe like 1 to 5%, is actually pretty healthy for the economy. A little bit is quite healthy for it. If prices are falling, something known as deflation, the companies might be a little bit skeptical and hesitant to invest in new plants and equipment, and unemployment might rise. Inflation can actually make it easier for some households with higher wages in some cases to pay off debts. However, inflation running at 5% or higher is a phenomenon the US hasn't seen in the early 1980s. Economists actually believe that the higher than normal inflation is bad for the economy for many reasons. For consumers, higher prices on essential goods like food, gas, like the water bill, may become unaffordable to people whose paychecks aren't rising as much. They're not getting a pay raise. But even when their wages are rising, higher inflation makes it harder for consumers to tell a particular good, a particular product is getting more expensive, relating to other goods, its competition, or is it just in line with the average price increase? And this can make it harder for people to budget appropriately. But what is true is that households have the same scenario as companies as well. Businesses see the price of key inputs like oil, microchips, they see them rise. They may want to pass on these costs to consumers, but could be limited in their ability to do so. As a result, they may have to cut back production and increasing supply chain problems furthermore. But number three, what are the biggest risks? So, according to the University of South Carolina, if inflation stays elevated for too long, way too long, it can lead to something economists call hyperinflation. This is when expectations that prices will keep rising fuels more inflation, which reduces the real value of every dollar in your pocket. So, in the most extreme cases, think Zimbabwe in the late 2000s, if you guys have heard of that. Spiraling prices can lead to a collapse in currency value. Zimbabwe in the late 2000s, the currency value went zoop. People will want to spend any money they have as soon as they get it for fear that the prices will rise even for a short period of time. Thankfully, the US is nowhere near the situation, but central banks like the Federal Reserve like to step in and control before it gets out of hand and the inflation will actually get there. They want to prevent that. But the problem is that the main way that the Federal Reserve does this is by raising interest rates, which kind of slows back and pushes back the economy. And if the Fed is forced to raise interest rates too quickly, it could even cause a recession and result in higher unemployment, as the US experienced in the 1980s, around the last time inflation was about this high. Fed chair, then the Fed chair at that time, oh my God, Paul Volcker did manage to rein in inflation, just reel it in, from as high as about 14% in 1980 at the cost of double-digit unemployment rates. Americans are not seeing inflation that high. We aren't seeing inflation that high, but preventing the US from getting there is almost certainly on the mind of Jerome Powell, who currently leads the Fed. He's the Fed's chairman. And I also have to show you the stock market's fastest inflation article. So according to this, the much awaited consumer price index CPI for January has come in finally, and it's more than lived up to its billing, jumping by the fastest annual rate in 4 decades. Wall Street ultimately sold off on the news, but only after a few hours of waffling. And this is the main reason why our stock market is down today. The Labor Department said Thursday that consumer prices rose by a whopping 7.5% annually in January, easily exceeding economists' estimates of 7.2%, the sharpest such increase since February 1982. So, in conclusion, inflation is peaking up. There is a high, and Fed will begin rising interest rates soon to begin taper it, but they must be careful and try to not cause a recession. Then that we will be in a bear market then. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you found this information helpful, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.